Welcome back once again to Dad Narag. This is Sean.
And this is Chris.
And tonight we are capping off our holiday adventure here. We've done these Misfit movies now since basically the first week of November. So it's been a couple months now, all through
Yeah,
the
yeah,
holiday
yeah.
season.
Ho, ho, ho.
Yeah. Tonight we are ending it with a double feature, a Nicolas Cage double feature with Trapped in Paradise from 1994 and The Family Man from the year 2000. The year 2000.
Wow, that feels like so long ago now.
Yeah.
Of everything we've been, can you think about all the stuff we've been through since the year 2000?
I mean, it was 25 years ago. Another big holiday movie, the Jim Carrey Grinch, that's celebrating its 25th anniversary this year.
Speaking of the Grinch, you look awfully green.
Do I?
No, your background, I see green and red. This is kind of funny.
Oh yeah, I got some Christmassy lights behind me.
There we go. Well,
Who are we?
Before we get too deep in this, you guys, we're Dad and Rock. We've been doing this Misfit movies thing, the movies that everyone's kind of forgotten about when it comes to the holidays. So if you haven't already, check them out, like, subscribe, do the works. We're going to continue goofy things like this going forward. We're two weirdo dads, and we apparently we got some gray hairs in our chin, so we're going to check those out on live camera. And so let's go for this. The two movies, like Sean said, we're talking about Trapped in Paradise and The Family Man. Trapped in Paradise was your pick. The Family Man was my pick this week.
Right. That's right.
And we're going to go ahead and talk about Trapped in Paradise first. Is that what we're going
to do?
Let's
talk about that first. I just watched that. So I watched go ahead.
You want to roll a trailer first?
Yes, before we get into I start talking about it, then I forget we play trailers.
We're going to pull it up, and I'm going to hit play and to see what we think here. Booyah.
20th Century Fox would like you to meet the Furbo family. Dave.
Once released from this prison, I, much like my reptilian brother, the pterodactyl, shall fly high above my problems.
Alvin.
Excuse me. Well, the sign says take a pen, not take all the pens.
Bill.
Look at that abandoned car. It's my car. Oh.
Their ma.
Beautiful dreamer.
Hey, Edna, how would you like to ride in the trunk of the car?
Edna, are we sleeping together? I think not.
One big temptation.
Forget it. Forget what?
There's no money in the vault.
And what have we here?
$275,000.
One brilliant plan.
All right! This is a robbery! All right, who's got the key? Raise your hand. Oh.
Do you boys really want to do this?
Absolutely.
But on Christmas Eve, it doesn't seem right.
One huge mistake.
I just did what the map said. I made 4 lefts.
4 lefts? As I start going, you idiot!
Robbing the bank was easy.
Oh my God, are you okay?
No, we're not dead, if that's what you mean.
Why don't you come join my family and me for a wonderful Christmas dinner by the fire?
But surviving the nicest little town in the world,
Here we are.
that's the hard part.
Come on in. I just robbed these people. I don't want to get to know them, all right?
If you don't give me that money, I'm going to throw your mother out the window.
All right. Love you too.
Do you need any money?
No, we've taken more than our share already.
20th Century Fox presents the story of 3 brothers looking to get out of paradise.
Is there a bus or a train?
Any way they can. Nicolas Cage.
I'm getting this feeling that you are not telling me something.
John Lovitz.
You know, this feeling you're getting is paranoia.
Dana Carvey.
Come on, let's just go.
Trapped in Paradise.
Don't aggravate the old witch.
I wish I was a witch. I'd shove my broomstick right up your
Well, there you go.
So I was chuckling during the trailer. I didn't hear no chuckling or smiling on your side. Well, no, okay. So I'll dive into this. Seeing that was your pick.
Yeah, go ahead.
This movie, if it wasn't for Dana Carvey, I couldn't have done.
Okay.
For me, the absurd voice, the goofiness, the kleptoman, maniac, I was chuckling at him the whole movie. The rest of the movie, it was the way I summed this movie up was this was an origin story for Hallmark movies.
Okay.
That when it ended, that was my thought. That's exactly what I thought it was. It's like, you know what, this was a Hallmark movie before Hallmark movies existed.
That's funny. I don't remember like crime and bank robberies in Hallmark movies,
But
but
it was almost the same format though. It was, you had the guys from out of town come in town, guy
yeah,
meets girl, girl and guy fall together in love together. He finds a way to do the good thing. He stays
yeah,
in town, family leaves, kumbaya.
right, right.
So
Yeah, it
it kind
did
of had
end
that
very
feeling.
schmaltzy. I felt like, see, that's funny because what you say about Dana Carvey rings true. Now, I wasn't as like delighted with Dana Carvey as you were, but it did feel like Dana Carvey was in a different movie than everybody else. Like he was in some children's movie. Like I don't know what he was in.
It's like tripping on acid the whole movie.
Yeah, Dana Carvey decided to just do this really weird uh, character. And this was 1994, so you know they said the R word back then pretty loosely. But he was mentally different than his brothers for sure. And yeah, I don't know. I didn't chuckle as much. I almost feel like I almost like it the other way. Like I almost wish Dana Carvey wasn't such a cartoon character, so the rest of the movie felt different or like better or more consistent. But yeah, it felt like a cartoon to me, like the because I watched the Family Man first, and then I watched this.
Oh, you watched them in that order. Oh boy.
Yeah,
Oh, that's kind of it's a shock to the system if you watch them that way.
it was a bit jarring. Yeah, this felt like it. This felt like like a Three Stooges short, or it felt like the Marx Brothers. Like it felt like some kind of old timey something from the '40s, where the story doesn't really make a lot of sense. Like
It made no sense
things.
at all.
No,
There was no way to make sense of the story. Trapped in Paradise was them trying to get out and somehow always wrapping back around. Like it was like the car, the wreck, they're back in. The horse goes in a circle and they're right back in town. Or it was just weird things like that. Then you had the shop owner and son slash deputies that were like chasing them down. It was like that was weird by itself. There was a lot of things that was just odd about this movie. Like, why would you come in town and try to rob a bank if you don't know anything about the town? You don't
yeah,
know if you've got weapons. Come to find out they've got a car with an arsenal in the trunk.
convenient. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was, I don't know.
It
It
was
was
when I was watching it, it felt like I was like, did a 7-year-old write this movie? Because it's you know how
okay.
like kids tell stories where kids are like, this happened, and then this happened, and then the guy did this, and then some other guy came and he did this, and he was like, wow, and then this happened, and then this happened. You know what I mean? It just felt like on and on and on, and it
Yeah.
felt like a kid telling you a story. That's the way this movie felt.
So what's the craziest thing that can happen? Oh, you crash a car. Oh, then the next crazy thing is you steal a horse with a sled on the back of him. You ride it through town, and cops are chasing
Right.
after you. So, oh yeah, no, it was one absurd thing after another. You know what? I completely missed how the other two guys got out of jail. Like I was watching the movie, and I don't know if I
Yeah.
looked down to my phone or whatnot. Next thing I know, they're in his mom's house. Take her, and now they're driving to paradise. I'm like, how did
Right.
this even happen? Like it happened so quick, and it's like so it had to have been crazy because it had to make no sense on how they escaped. And now
Well,
they're
they glossed right over it. Like there was some sort of newspaper article in the very beginning that a bunch of like inmates were up for paroles and they were
yeah,
being light on parolees. That's the reason why John Lovitz and Dana Carvey got out.
yeah.
So I assumed it was the same kind of thing that allowed the other actual mobster to get out too. But you're right, the movie doesn't tell us that. We just have to kind of like infer it.
Well, they kind of said they broke out. They
Hmm.
broke out of them because they actually found the license plate of the car of the ones that escaped.
Yeah.
I'm taking it. They didn't make parole. They were just they somehow just escaped themselves.
This like love story too with the girl with the daughter of the mobster was just so half baked too. It was like, I
It was
mean, just
it
yeah.
was so forced. And Nick Cage in this movie was early '90s Nick Cage. I mean, the yelling, the boisterous, and he's kind of bouncing around, and it was just like it felt very face off, like going 100 miles an hour. Nick Cage.
I know, and I didn't expect it to be because I felt like this was still kind of early in the timeline. Because before this, I mean, his big breakout role was in the late '80s with Cher in Moonstruck, and he wasn't doing this kind of thing. And a lot of movies, he wasn't this kind of thing. And then, like, they were just, it just pops out, right? Like now, that's all he's known for. It's just like his like bug-eyed like performance where he's like yelling and spastic and stuff. Like, oh, bless you.
Yep. Hopefully, I muted that part. Right. All
You
right.
did, you did. Silent sneeze. But like he's used, like we're
Silent
used to
night.
that. That's what we think of him now, right?
Yeah.
And I thought that we would get a more subdued, subtle Nick Cage performance in this movie, and it's not.
Oh
It's
no!
not.
Everything from like when he's getting his brothers to escape. You know, was it when he drops his wallet and then they're back in the alleyway and he claims to be some like FBI agent or something like that, and his dumb rookie cop believes him. I'm like,
Yeah.
come on, really?
I mean, he was enjoyable. I just and like Dana Carvey, he was funny. I didn't like really appreciate how different he was in the movie, but I do like him. He's funny. John Lovitz, I think, was kind of left on the table. Like John Lovitz is way funnier usually when he's
Yeah.
like in a supporting role, but they didn't have much for him to do. Like he
Well,
was
they
Dana
played too much
Carvey
of a
was
straight guy.
yeah, he was, which was kind of weird because it's like they had Nick Cage being all spastic and Dana Carvey doing whatever character he decided to do. And you're right, John Lovitz was just kind of a straight man. Like he had his moments where he was like, oh, the kind of you could see that he was the schemer out of the three
Yeah.
brothers the most. But beyond that, he didn't have much of a character.
No, he didn't, and that was disappointing because I seen what they were trying to do with him right out the rip when they were interviewing him in the parole board. I was like,
Yeah,
I can see if it gave us more of that,
right,
that would have been funnier. And then Dana Carvey could have played off that. Then you would have had Nick Cage be the straight guy, which I
right.
think that dynamic would have been better for the movie itself.
If they would have kept that, if they would have kept John Lovitz being like the terrible liar, but like him trying to like lie through situations the way that he does, than the way that he did in SNL, and like that's funny for him to try to like lie his way out of a scene or whatever, and Dana Carvey doing his thing, and then like Nick Cage, you're right, being more of a straight man and being like but the three of them were all kind of wacky. Like that's the first part of the movie when we first get introduced to Nick Cage. He seems like he's the good brother that has the good head on his shoulders, and he's kind of
Mhm.
the straight man. But then once they're there in like he's all gung ho about robbing this bank too.
Well, I almost feel like they set that up very subtly. Like in the
Yeah,
very beginning, when the wallet's getting kicked and he's kicking the wallet around, he gets to it, and there's the money, was it $600-700 or something like that's in it,
yeah,
and he mails it back, and he actually goes to confession, and he's like, if I felt like he's never been caught, but
right,
he's never gone to jail,
yeah,
and he's trying to rectify his life with his brothers being caught and his brothers being put away, and it was
yeah,
almost like he was doing it for his mom.
yeah,
And as soon as he was put into a situation where it felt like an easy take with his brothers being there and with weapons, and it's like, shooting fish in a barrel, he went too quick for it. Like you're
yeah.
saying, it didn't quite, the dots weren't completely connected at that point when he made those decisions.
I think it was strange too, just like they wanted to have it both ways with the town itself. Is like I feel like they wanted to poke fun at the town, like the small town feel. You know what I mean? Like let's make fun of these guys who are like kind of redneck bumpkins that are like have the shotgun the whole time and are chasing the guys the whole time and spitting the chew right, and like the Keystone cops that are just like humbling and bumbling and the bank that has the sleeping guard there at the door that's sleeping the entire time. They
Yeah.
want to like make fun of that kind of thing, but also everybody's like it's really folksy and like they're all super nice and kind and like it's like they're making fun of them but also portraying them in a good light, which I feel like the movie didn't really know what they wanted to do and how they wanted to portray the people of paradise.
Yeah. No, the movie was confused at the get go. They knew they wanted to have a bank robbery. They knew they wanted to have the love story.
Yeah,
And they're like, okay, now how can we build something around this? And they just kind of slapstick stuff together.
right. I'm trying to think. I mean, the FBI guy. I did laugh. I probably laughed as far as like straight up comedies. I definitely laughed more in this than watching Ernest, and
Yes,
I
I'll
laughed in
agree.
this.
Yeah,
I laughed in this more than watching Medea.
I
Um,
laughed at Medea. Whole different, a whole different way to look at it.
so there were like the performances, even though the writing was bad, the plot did not make sense at all. Like the performances were strong enough to make me laugh a lot of the time, especially but the performances from like even like the head FBI agent, like that guy when he was so exacerbated at the end and corralled everybody in the same room and was just trying to make sense of the whole damn thing and nobody was giving him anything.
Yeah,
Like that was funny. That was a really good portrayal and acting job. I know that guy. That guy's a character actor. He's been in a lot of stuff, but he was good in this movie too. I'm trying to think. Like a lot of the townspeople, like they did their job. They were good performers.
yeah.
But as I think, just like the overall movie, uh, it's not one I'll revisit.
I completely understand why this one has been almost forgotten.
Yeah, yeah,
I'll
yeah.
put. There are some that need to go by the wayside. This is one of those ones that just kind of went away into the ether. For some reason, we just kept pulling it back. We're like, we got to bring this one back for people to remember. Now, I do know there's one of our viewers that watched us last week said this is one of their favorites.
Really?
Yeah, so she was like, I really enjoy Trapped in Paradise. So, I mean, I know one person, online that loves it.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder about that. If this is a movie that I had seen when it came out, like in
Mhm.
'94, we were both like, 11,
Oh,
almost
we would have
12 years
loved
old.
it then. I can
I
see
think
us
we would have
just
liked it.
laughing. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's probably one that like didn't age well, but we would have that nostalgia and that fondness for it where even today we'd probably still watch it and be like, "Oh, I love this movie."
Would
But
watch it,
since
ignoring the flaws now as
you're
an
right.
adult, but just kind
Yeah,
of watching it for the warm and fuzzies.
right. Overall, yeah, I mean, it was okay. It made me laugh. I'm trying to think if any other scene that sticks out to you that we missed.
Not really. I mean, there was that scene when they were actually in the diner and Nick Cage flips the table and walks out.
Yeah.
Uh,
There was
I,
a scene
I
where they saved the horse. That horse was just like it came in, came out. All of a sudden, it was like came out of nowhere, and then was so important to all three of them.
yeah,
And then
Dana
it just
Carvey fell in love with the horse. I was like, oh,
and then the horse was just gone. Like they let it. They're like, okay, bye, horse. Like that's how plot points came and went so loosey goosey in this movie. It was a farce, really. I did like the scene, like the dinner scene, where the three of them were like they were trying to escape town. They did escape town, but the car crashed, and then the Good Samaritans brought them back into town,
yeah.
and they just happened to bring them by the bank
The
owner's
owner,
house.
yeah.
And Dana Carvey was pouring the entire gravy boat full of gravy onto his plate.
I'm telling you, there's something about Dana Carvey. It's maybe a window into me, everybody.
Yeah,
But Dana Carvey made that's the only way I survived that movie because it was almost a 2-hour movie.
I know. I was
It
like,
was a long movie.
when I started it this afternoon, I was like, okay, this has to be like a quick, hour 30 because that's how
Yeah.
comedies used to be in the 90s. And I put it on and it's just shy of 2 hours. I was like, damn.
But if it wasn't for him, I would have really struggled.
Yeah.
I struggled, but not as bad as I could have. But let's slap a number on it. What would be your out of 10?
Mine, okay. So when I was coming into our talk tonight, I was giving it a 4. But what happens sometimes, you and I talk through it. And once I talked through it, I realized I either didn't enjoy it as much or enjoyed it a little bit more than the number I had in my head. And I think I did enjoy it a little bit more than 4. I'm not like but not my like 5, which sounds like it. That's such a middle of the road, and I
Yeah.
hate giving stuff because that's a failure. Honestly, it's either gonna if it's gonna be bad, be really bad. If it's gonna
Yep.
be good, be solid. But a 5 is just like you watch it and you forget it.
I'm gonna say a 5 as well. And like you're saying, either if you're really bad, people enjoy it and like it because it's terrible.
Right.
If you're really good, the exact opposite. People love it just because it's a great movie. If
Yeah.
you're a 4, 5, or 6, you're forgettable.
I think this with the cast that was involved, if they started off with a better story, better written plot, This could have been like a classic, I think.
Yeah.
But
it had to
it's
make,
just-
like I said, it felt like the origin story of a Hallmark movie.
Yeah.
It's like, and you see how successful all the Hallmark movies are. So if they would have just went a little more, I don't know, and spent a little more time with the script and make sense rather than, you know what? It almost feels like they had a script and they knew the actors they had.
All right.
And they let them be more character actors and just go rather than giving them like an actual like direction. Now that we
Did
talk
you
about
know that at one point, one of our favorite films, Bad Boys, starred Will Smith and Martin Lawrence? At one point, when that movie was in pre-production, do you know the two leads instead of Martin Lawrence and Will Smith? Who were they going to be?
I don't, but I know it was no.
John Lovitz and Dana Carvey. Basically, we just watched Christmas Bad Boys. That's before they hammered out what they wanted Bad Boys to be.
That would have completely changed the trajectory of that whole franchise.
Yeah. My curiosity, I would have liked to seen what that version of Bad Boys looks like. Probably a lot like this.
Oh no, that's a nice fish. Big eyes, but nice fish. Okay, guys. So we pretty much gave that a meh.
Yeah.
I mean, even like I said, Medea. We will remember Medea from this series because of the low score you gave it and the higher score I gave it.
Yeah.
And it's memorable. This one here, we're gonna forget we watched in a couple months.
Yeah, 5 is the definition of mid, and it's just it's forgotten for a reason, like you said.
So we went from that. Now you watched these backwards.
Oh yeah, I did.
I knew The Family Man. This is one I used to watch a lot. It's kind of fallen out of my rotation recently. Just time and just trying to do everything, at one time. Definitely with the holidays.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and watch the trailer of The Family Man, and then we can kind of get into that a little bit.
Jack Campbell thought he had everything.
Merry Christmas.
I'm giving everything I've got to this deal. You're a credit to capitalism, Jack.
Then one day, his past caught up to him.
Kate Reynolds. She was my girlfriend in college. I almost married her.
But instead you left her.
I took the road less traveled.
And fate
What?
Him? Me.
gave him a glimpse
What do you need, Jack?
I got everything I need.
Yeah? You just remember that you brought this on yourself.
at what his life could have been.
Kate?
Come on, Dad, get up. It's Christmas. It's Christmas.
Jack.
Strong coffee. Where's my Ferrari?
You got a Ferrari?
Just tell me what's happening to me.
This is a glimpse.
A glimpse of what?
This is not my beautiful house.
This is very strange because this isn't my house.
This is not my beautiful wife.
Those are
That
my
pretty
kids.
good.
Oh,
You're not blaming my dad, are you?
I don't have time for this. I'm in the middle of a deal.
Well, you're working on a new deal now, baby.
Good Lord. Do you know why I work here?
Because you're the best damn tire guy in the state of New Jersey.
You must have needed this every day.
Yeah, you need it in Mad Wheels.
You want me.
That is the general idea.
Oh, God, you're beautiful.
How can you look at me like you haven't seen me every day for the last 13 years?
Jack! What's up? How you feeling, baby?
Can't keep coming in and out of people's lives, messing things up. It's not right. I need you to remember me, Kate. Keep it with you no matter what happens.
Well, it's too late tonight to drag the past out into the night. One life, but we're not the same. We get to carry each other. Oh.
Academy Award winner Nicolas Cage, The Family Man.
The Family Man.
There
Oh
we
man,
go.
oh man.
Dude, like I said, you did some Whiplash. You did the other one first.
You know, it's funny. Before we talk about this movie, I was thinking when we were watching the trailer for Trapped in Paradise, and just now, like they really give away kind of the whole plot, don't they? They give away the whole
This
movie
one
in the
here,
trailers.
I've never seen the trailer before, and I'm
Yeah.
watching this, and I'm like, that's the whole movie.
They just recap the whole damn movie.
I mean, yeah, they left nothing out.
And before we hopped on, I just watched the trailer for the Odyssey, which comes out next summer.
Fantastic.
Came out today. It was a great trailer, but you don't know what the hell's going on. Like,
Dude, I seen just on a side tangent, 'cause you kind of set us there.
yeah.
I seen Avatar in IMAX. They gave us a 5-minute scene of the
Oh,
Trojan horse
yeah.
going into Troy, and they gave us that whole scene where the main character's name, I'm blanking on his name.
Odysseus.
Odysseus
Yeah.
comes out of it. They start, taking out the soldiers. They open the gate, and you seen the soldiers come in. It's gonna be fantastic.
I can't wait. Maybe we'll have to get together and see that in person. But anyway, we're not talking about the Odyssey. But I thought it was funny, just like how that trailer for the Odyssey gave like nothing.
Yeah.
And these two trailers give you pretty much the entire movie, where you don't even have to watch the movie.
Okay,
But anyway,
let's
The
jump into
Family
this.
Man.
The Family Man. This was your first time seeing this? Am I correct?
Yes, I've never seen it. Yep.
So, what were your thoughts when this came to an end?
I thought that I liked the way, because this is kind of a tropey thing, you know what I mean? Like It's a Wonderful Life did this, and
Yeah.
kind of the Scrooge Christmas Carol thing a little bit, where you get to see parts of your life. But this is a little bit different, to see how things would have been if things turned out differently. And people, it's regret, right? When you get of
Yeah.
a certain age and you think like, well, what if I made a different choice back, in yesteryear, and what would my life look like now? Everybody has those feelings at some point. Christmas seems to be a time and a lot of focus on when movies and stories do that kind of thing. I thought they did that kind of trope really well in this movie, because they spent a lot of time really fleshing out like what Jack's life is like now. Like you get a really good feeling, even though they kind of drop you into it. He wakes up one day and all of a sudden he's in the suburbs, and he's got a wife and 2 kids and a job. You really start learning. You're like curious, and you're with him, right? Like he's as surprised as you are as a viewer, right? So it's like
Yeah.
it's keeping you kind of entertained the whole time. They don't go into like the hows and whys of it, like it's supernatural, or is it like a dream, or is it like the whole Don Cheadle magic black man thing I probably could have done without.
Now,
Like
see,
they could have.
I thought every time Don Cheadle was on the screen,
Yeah.
he stole the show. He was
Really only in for like 2 scenes on the
Yeah.
very like the beginning and the end, and it kind of
But
bookends it.
the beginning scene. Then he had the Porsche scene, or the car, the Ferrari.
Yeah.
And then he had the end. So yeah, those only 3 separate points, basically beginning, middle, and end, when he was actually in the movie. I kind of took it as he was kind of almost like an angel. He was there and he was reading people.
Yeah.
Kind of situation. That's how. And when Nick Cage's character went ahead and said what he said, like, I've got everything. He's like, remember, you did this to yourself, types, which I've always read it that way.
Yeah, I get that. I guess I could have used a little bit more, because he doesn't explain anything, which I don't
Yeah.
know is if it's good or bad. He's just like, especially in the Ferrari, because Nick Cage is freaking out. And he's like, "What's going on?" And Don Cheadle's just like, "I don't know. You'll figure it out. I don't know."
Yeah, I
It's
can't tell you anything. Yeah.
it's almost like he's an angel, but like he's been doing this a long time, and he really just doesn't care about doing this anymore. And he
Almost Dogma
gives
style.
yeah, like he gives these people like just very limited amount of information, because it's just like, I don't feel like giving the whole spiel about this and that. Just like, you'll figure it out. I'll see you later. And then when he comes back, he doesn't specifically tell him like, okay, this time is done and this and that. It's almost like Nick Cage infers that, oh no, this
He
is coming to an
knew.
end.
Because it was,
Um,
he told him, say, how long will this take? He said, as long as it takes you to figure it out.
Right.
And at
Yeah.
that point, when Nick Cage was at the end and he was getting the salt, and he was complaining about it being $4 and it only being salt,
Yeah.
at that point, he figured it out.
I did like you asked, how I felt at the very end. What I did notice too at the very end is how it was very much bookended. We open up a scene with Nick
Mhm.
Cage at the airport
And
with
he was the one
Taylor Looney.
leaving.
He was the
Yeah.
one leaving, and at the very end, we end at an airport, which is another trope with like romantic comedies and stuff that always ends up at an airport where they run back to the airport before the love interest catches a flight to try to win them back, and this kind of thing happens in so many movies.
Yeah.
But it worked in this one because it was like neat how they flipped it. And honestly, I wasn't quite sure what Tia Leone was going to say at the end because she could have very well, we don't know what she's been up to in the last 13 years. She could
Yeah.
have very well just been like, look, I appreciate that you've had this, you think these
This
thoughts about
awakening
our
type
life,
thing, yeah.
but it's just been too long. And like, feel free to call me sometime if you want to chat, but like, I got a life. I'm heading to Paris. It could
I
have
gotta
easily
go.
ended that way.
But he made a good argument. Paris will be there tomorrow.
Yeah.
I mean, what's one cup of coffee one evening, and if you decide, that's that. All right, you know what, we go on our own merry way. But it gives them the time to go ahead and have a conversation.
And the movie does end ambiguous. It ends with a shot of them just like having that coffee still at the airport, just like at the
Yeah.
airport lounge with it snowing behind them.
And you can tell they're
Um,
enjoying each other's company.
yeah, it was a good ending because it's a little ambiguous. And you hope that it ends up with them being together and starting that family, especially it's
Yeah.
like, oh, those two kids don't exist
Oh,
anymore.
the,
That
the little girl.
I know.
Every time the little girl was on the screen,
Yeah.
it was all about her. She
Yeah.
clocked it immediately. She's looking
Oh,
at
she
it like,
did.
hold on. No, you're not my dad. He's like,
Yeah.
do you like kids? Are you where my dad go back to the mothership? Just the whole thing. Or when she's telling him, the schedule, drop me off here, drop me off. I've got this, and this going on after school.
Yeah.
Don't be late. And where he works now, at Big Ed's, just this the whole thing.
I thought that was a very cute way to handle that storyline. Instead of being like too intense for the little girl, like you're not my daddy, like it was because that's kind of terrifying.
At that
Like
age, yeah.
if your kid like has this feeling that your dad is like not your normal dad, and it's like he had to explain, oh, your dad's not here, but he'll be back, and he loves you. Like that was like a kind of a quick band-aid, but that's like terrifying for a kid. But I did like how that they kind of stretched that story out a bit, and they were like on the same page the entire time that
Yeah.
that Wall Street, Jack Campbell was there.
Yeah, and the end on how they wrap the story up with the little girl too.
Yeah.
When Tia Leone looks out the window and they're outside playing and they're in the snow, and she looks at him and she's like, "Welcome back," or something.
Yeah.
I don't remember the exact word. She's giving him a big hug. I'm like,
Yeah.
you know what? I mean, I'm a softie. I mean, we both have we're both girl dads.
Yeah.
So that type scene, I'm like, oh. And then
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, and then the ending when he's sitting and he goes by and he says bye to the little baby boy and the little girl and everything, and he's sitting there, and I'm like, I'm hitting all the feels
Yeah.
watching this.
I will say, so the little girl clocked him almost immediately, right?
Yeah.
Tia Leone, I don't know where her head was at most of the movie, but it took her so damn long to just be like, what the hell's wrong with you? What's going on with you? You know what I mean? Like, if I were acting like him,
Yeah.
just this like spastic, I don't know what's going on. Like, I ran at Christmas. Like, she was mad.
Oh, if one of the two of us is just bounced all Christmas Day, both of our wives were like, what the hell is up? They would clock. They would have us pinned in some room by ourselves, lighting our ass up. Not talking about going to a party in the evening that we're looking forward to all year.
Right.
We would have gotten lit the hell up.
Thank you, because that's what I was feeling almost the entire movie with Tia Leone just being like, are you so like just like Saint Tia Leone, just like I mean, she's just patient, you know what I mean? Like Nick Cage is having some sort of midlife crisis, and you are just being so patient with him and understanding because I'm putting myself in Nick Cage's shoes, right? I'm just thinking of how my wife would be laying into me the entire time I'm acting like that.
Oh, it doesn't matter if I came home with a bell or plane tickets to Puerto Rico.
Right.
I'm a dead man.
Oh, I forgot the anniversary. See, that's the point when it was after he was like, when he was they were at the mall and he was trying on the suit.
Oh, he flips
and
out about the $2,500 suit.
he flips out about how saying, "What about mine?" And it's like, oh, this life, basically
Little
giving
girl
all
got
these
the
vibes
shoes.
that he hates his life, right?
Yeah.
And I thought from there was just going to be like, oh my God, like she was going to have a breakdown, or they were going to have some kind of conversation about what he's going through, but they really kind of don't.
But
And
they
then,
kind of leaned into that because when she said, he said, don't you want to have a life that everyone envies? And she said, we already do. And everyone's looking at her like he's lucky he has her. And I think, and there's other women
yeah,
that obviously are looking at Nick Cage's character. But I
right.
mean, that right there what tells me a lot about her patience and how much she loves him and how much she's even said, I want to grow in this old in this house. I want, the kids coming here, but if you need that, she chooses them and she'll move. And that
Yeah.
right there, it basically tells you a lot about her level of patience that you're talking about. How we would have been dead men, but somehow Nick was like, he survived this very brief midlife crisis that he was all of a sudden going through.
Yeah, and how like he forgot, well, didn't know their anniversary,
Didn't
but
know,
to
yeah.
her, she was heartbroken that he had forgotten in her eyes their anniversary, which I thought that was going to spur another conversation. Like, what's been going on with you? Like, you are always the first to hand me a present during our anniversary, and you actually forgot. Like, are you? I thought it was going to be like, are you falling out of love with me? Like, are you seeing someone? Like, I thought it was going to like, you know, not to like, put all women in a basket, but I think a woman would typically have all these thoughts about like, what the hell is going on and what do
Definitely
I
if
need to
they've
do?
been with him as long as they say. They know each
Yeah.
other.
And they have
And
2 kids. Like,
yes.
you got to start
Are-
thinking about like, is this man like gonna what do I need to do to protect myself and my kids? Like, is this
Mhm.
man going off the deep end? You know what I mean? And there was really none of that from
Yeah. Is he
her
having kind of
character.
a holiday breakdown where it doesn't always end well
Yeah.
type situation that's going on? So yeah, I can absolutely see that. Yeah, she put up with a lot. Then he was walking that line of almost cheating on her with Evelyn.
Right.
And then his
That was
best
another
friend
thing.
was like, yo, nope. I'm out. I appreciated that. I appreciated his best friend in this movie because when he
Yeah.
clocked him, it's like, you know what? No, I don't care if you're having a midlife crisis. I don't care if you're doing anything. You see this 4-bedroom house you have here with kids and your wife. This is fantastic. This is it. This is fantastic. Don't screw it up.
And ultimately they did the right thing. There were 2 scenes, right, where like I was questioning the morality of this version of Jack Campbell, because it was like there was the scene that he and Kate Tia Looney were gonna have sex the first time. The kids were in bed. It was 10 o'clock. It was like
Yeah.
their night to do it, right? Like, so Tia Looney was like undressing. They were like gonna do it real quick.
Oh, you want me?
And yeah, and it turns out that Nick Cage, she comes back, she gets ready in the bathroom, she comes back out, he's asleep in bed, right? But it turns out he wasn't actually asleep. Like, he once she was like laid down, he popped his eyes open, which I thought was interesting. I was like, oh, he's like purposely kind of holding back from like just jumping in the sack with her. Because I thought in my head, I was like, well, that's the right thing to do, because in your head, you're not her Jack Campbell. You're this
Yeah.
different guy. And it's almost as like like she's cheating on her actual husband with you, this different version of you.
Yeah.
And like, that's why I thought he was like, he couldn't wrap his head around it. And he was kind of psyched himself out. And it was like, I can't do this. But then later, I'm like, oh, okay, well, he's a moral guy, like that's good. But then later, the hot neighbor is like flirting, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna get me some of that. Like, okay, where are you, like morally? Because that doesn't really gel with me. But
Well, that was more in line with his character, Jack Campbell's character, before the glimpse.
right, yeah, that's true.
That was his normal, personality. And then when he was with Tia Leone, it's like his character was starting to see through that version of Jack. It's like he was starting
Yeah.
to kind of fall into that, that whole deal. Like when he found the video of Kate's birthday and he's
Mhm.
singing, and then you see the other woman in background just kind of looking like just in pure envy
Yeah,
on
yeah.
how he's looking at her, how he's just, in complete love with Kate, and she's like, I want that.
And maybe it is different. Maybe it is different specifically with Kate because he has loved her this entire time. Maybe it was a subconscious thing where like, yeah, he is kind of this sleazy guy, the Wall Street version that we meet in the beginning of the movie. I mean, the movie straight up tells us that he's kind of a sleazebag, right?
Yeah.
And then
Christmas Eve, and they're there till like 8:30 or whatever.
but he does specifically he has boundaries with Kate, which maybe tells you that in his eyes, even if he doesn't know it, that Kate is different from all other women out there. You know what I mean? So I guess that does clock. But yeah, there were some times in the movie, and definitely a better written movie than Trapped in Paradise. I would say that.
Well, this had a clear like vision on what it wanted to be,
Yeah.
from beginning to the end, and I appreciate it. It was definitely one that I really enjoyed, and I mean, and there are some awkward scenes, and I'm like, oh, I don't. It's like this one's hard to. This part's hard to watch, or things like that. But for
Yeah.
the most part, it's like it's one that once I watched again, I'm like I understood why I enjoyed it.
I'm trying to think. So when I first, let's see, I'm trying to think if there's anything else here. I kind of like the scene where he got his old job back, like because things were different at his company too, where the guy that was like one of his employees was now the head of the company.
Yeah, Alan, he
And
grew a backbone.
Alan, yeah. And he came in and like wowed them and just kind of, but then ultimately it did end up panning out because Tia Leone was like, I'm not gonna move my family.
Yeah. Well, yeah, when he carried her into the basically the penthouse.
Yeah.
It's like, it looks like a museum. It's not a place where you'd raise two kids.
Yeah.
I mean, everything there was breakable.
You know what? There was a point in the movie where I'm like, kind of like Groundhog's Day, where I'm like, how long has he been in this vision? And then they tell me it's Valentine's Day. We're having our Valentine's Day sale. I'm like, oh, it's been like 2 months or a month and a half or something. It's like he's there for a while. Like this temporary glimpse it's not like one night like Scrooge. It's it's 2 months.
Yeah, I wasn't sure, so I started trying to track how many times they actually showed like in the evening and going to sleep. And the next thing, before I realized, I was like, I've lost all track. So I was like, okay, this wasn't a one night. This wasn't a week. This was a decent period of time that this whole thing happened, which I like too, because it actually gave the time to Jack to go ahead and actually give the character breathing time from when he first woke up in bed with Kate to where he's rolling in when he falls asleep in the chair when he's saying basically goodbye to everybody. So he had that character growth time.
You know what I like too that was kind of unexpected was when you hear that Kate calls him kind of out of the blue in the beginning of the movie, and he kind of like, takes her number and throws it in the trash, and like he has that whole conversation with his boss. And I had assumed that Kate had reached out to him as sort of like a, hey, remember me? Like, I've been thinking about you kind of thing. Like, I just wanted to check in and see what you're up to. And then, like, so I was kind of anticipating that when he finally is back in the real world and he's going to go see her and follow up with her. But then when he gets to her, like, she's moving, like, she's busy. She's doing her own thing. She didn't reach out to, like, try to, like, reconnect. She reached out just to give him some stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I liked because I thought one thing and then it ended up being a totally different thing. And I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. Like, how is he going to face that? Because it would have been too easy if he sees her again and she's the one who's like forlorn and just like, well, wondering how you doing. And that makes it too easy for him to be like, hey, let's start over. But
they were equally successful, both of them.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, when he left it was Paris he went to also, wasn't it?
He went to London initially. That first plane was going to take him to London.
I like how they even showed that, because even when in the glimpse, he finds out that he still did go to London.
Yeah.
But he came right back. So he did say no in this version. He did get on the plane and leave. But the next day he turned around and returned.
Oh, interesting. I didn't catch that. I thought the moment that we saw in the very beginning, instead of turning his back and getting on the plane, I thought maybe he agreed with her and stayed because he still had the ticket in the book.
But it was a return flight. If you look at it,
oh, I didn't see it was a return flight. Oh,
and that's when Kate basically said, once you got on that plane, I thought I was never going to see you again. And then you showed
I
up the next
gotcha.
day.
Oh, okay. I missed that. Um, but yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I mean, just solid. Once the movie ended, I was like, oh, that was a solid movie. And now even talking through it, once again, like I think it raised my number a little bit.
That's funny how that happens when you're watching. You're like, okay, I got an idea, and then we're like, okay, when we start bouncing things off each other, it's always it's always more fun talking about a movie than watching it by yourself. It's like going to the theater by yourself. You want someone
Yeah,
to
well,
talk to when you get out.
it helps clarify some things too that maybe I wasn't sure about or had an opinion about. And I'm like,
Do
well,
you?
maybe that is more consistent than I thought.
They left this open as well. Do you think that deal ever went through? He never went to Aspen.
Oh, you're right. And by that point, I didn't even care. Like he didn't care
Neither
anymore, and
did
I
I.
didn't care anymore.
Yeah.
I didn't even think
It was
about
one
it.
of those things, yeah. And it was like, you can go back to your life and you'll be successful. I'll go back to my life and I'll be equally successful. We
Yeah,
don't need to have this cup of coffee,
right.
but I would like to have this cup of coffee.
You know what is interesting? I'm wondering because he was definitely in the very beginning, he was driven, right? If you weren't so driven, because she was given such a good argument and she had tears in her eyes, like, I want you to stay. I love you. I want to create this life with you here. I don't want you to get on that plane because I'm so scared I may never see you again. It takes a very driven individual to be like, things are going to be okay. I've got to get on this plane because we've got to make some money. And that kind of tracks with who he ends up being. This just like where money is kind of the most important thing. Like he's not like a total asshole boss, but it is kind of an asshole thing to make sure everybody comes in like on Christmas Eve
And then they're
because you
back
got a
Christmas
big deal.
Day.
Right. Like, but at the same time, like he does a good job explaining it because it's like if we make this deal, then it's Christmas for the rest of the year for everybody, for your family. Like,
We're getting 10 zeros.
yeah, you feel like he understands the sacrifice and he's still asking it of them anyway. And he's a good enough boss to where they still want to kind of do it for him, even though it sucks. So I did like that. He wasn't like a total garbage CEO, like jerk,
Yeah.
But like that tracks, and it just seems so different. Like I wonder what those 13 years look like, to where in the very beginning, getting on that plane, he was so driven, and then like he makes one choice to come back, and like the next 13 years just like turns him into this person. I guess he's still driven. I guess you still see that, even though he's a manager of a tire shop, he's still like
Well,
the best damn manager
did
in
you
that
catch
tire
on
shop.
why he was a manager at the tire shop?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
But
Big Al
see,
had
even
the heart attack and he
even
stepped
then,
in.
I could see you could step in and taking care of things, but would you spend 13 years taking care of things? You know what I mean? Like he was
Yeah,
there.
you think you would have the ability or the avenue to step back into whatever career or life you had prior to helping family.
Right. But you know what? That saying that, maybe you do spend 13 years doing that because sometimes you get in a job and you're there for so long, you start thinking it becomes your daily routine, and eventually it's like, well, I can't leave now because I got this, or I can't leave now because I got that, and one thing happens in another in life, and it's just like, and she was focusing on her pro bono work, so maybe it does make sense that he stuck where
Like,
he
how
was
much
getting
does he have
paid.
invested in this tire shop now? It's family. So
Right,
is he
right,
now
right.
going to carry on it once Big Al can't continue anymore? Are there
Yeah,
investment options? I mean, they were already trying. They were getting that trucker's contract for
yeah,
supplies. So he's kind of using his skills that he learned, as a broker now with trying to get bigger contracts for Big Al. So I can absolutely see him staying.
yeah,
Definitely if he's concerned about Big Al's health
right.
and then everyone basically concerned about his health. So I can see him sticking around because that clocks with his actual character during that glimpse. That makes sense
Yeah,
to me.
yeah. And 13 years is a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to think back to when I was 30 versus, 43 now. And, I feel like I was a kid back then. Like, it's a lot, a lot's happened. You do a lot of growing. Even though they didn't, this was the years before they did like digital de-aging and stuff, because the Nick Cage and Tia Leone from that flashback from 13 years ago was the same exact Nick Cage and Tia Leone 13 years later.
Yeah. So the one last thing I would say about his character pre-glimpse, as you were saying, you can tell he's not exactly a complete ass of a boss,
Yeah.
is the way he treated all the employees of his actual building.
He knew him
Like,
by
he
name.
knew
Yeah.
he knew, like, he was asking how they did for Christmas, the
Right.
bonuses, telling them what to do with their money, when to pull it out to make the most buck, bang for the buck. The guy that was getting the car, just you can tell that they like him, which
Right.
tells us that he's not a complete sleazebag.
Exactly, right. Yeah, you could tell almost if it weren't for the people and how the people around him react to him, you would almost assume that he is just like unredeemable. But
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. Like the way people treat him back, you're like, okay, well, he seems to navigate this life and he seems to be kind of a people person. So yeah, that I did track that.
Okay, so let's hit this up. What would your number be for this one?
At first, I was like, this is a solid 7. It's like it's good but not great. Like it's solid and it's not quite something that I would it's got to be like repeat viewing. And even now, it's gone up from a 7. I'll say one more point. It's gone from a 7 to an 8, just like talking through like how good the performances was and how the plot lines and storylines meshed very well together and how you can kind of infer different things and a lot of it can make sense if you kind of start talking about it and thinking about it more. So I'm going from a 7 to an 8. I will still call it good, not great. I think there could have been more to play with like the fact that he's in this situation, like how and why and what are the ramifications and repercussions. But that being said, I mean, I think it was a solid movie.
I'm right there with you. I'm not convinced enough that I put it a 9. And the reason being is a 9 or higher, I don't stop watching during the holidays.
Right.
It's always a watch, no matter what. I'm going to fit it in. Muppets Christmas Carol, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. These are movies that I don't miss during the holidays. This one here did slide down far enough on my must-watch list that it did fall out.
Right, yeah.
So an 8 is exactly where I would put it as well. And for a lot of the same reasons you're saying. Some of the things that could have maybe been explained a little bit better, or storylines that could have been maybe just a little tighter, because they went ahead and they finally had. This is a scene that we didn't really talk about, but when he finally was going to go ahead and get the other lady's number, and he went back to his best friend asking where. They didn't say, but it was the same night where he was sitting on the couch watching the birthday video, and he went home and sat down. And then Kate came out and they had that conversation about if you have to, do this and this, we will do it for you. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. Like some of the plot points could have been done a little bit tighter. But that being said, like they were juggling with a lot of stuff in this movie and a lot of themes. And I think, for the most part, they did well at it.
They landed a lot of them. I don't know how I found this movie, because finding a Nick Cage movie that's playing this straight of a character, there's nothing funny really. I mean, there's some, if you're a family man, you're going to laugh at some things. There's some things that are just kind of funny.
Yeah.
I mean, the bowling scene I got a kick out of.
Oh, yeah.
When he threw the second ball and he hit stuff and he was so proud of himself.
Right, yeah.
But this was an enjoyable one. This, like I said, this one just fell out of my rotation. I would not be shocked if it slid back into it.
Yeah.
So that's where I stand with it.
To make an appearance here and there. Well, that's great. That's why I wanted to start with Trapped in Paradise and end with The Family Man, because I felt like we'd end on a high note.
Because the other ones we had no idea what we were truly getting into.
Yeah, really.
We started with Medea, remember?
Oh my gosh. Don't remind me.
We started with the low. I think you gave that a 2 or something like that. And we ended on an 8. That's a journey.
So that's going to close out. That's going to close out Misfit movies, at least the holiday version of Misfit movies. I think you and I are maybe on the same page about continuing Misfit movies outside of holiday films and talk about some of our lesser known favorites, maybe some movies from the 80s and 90s that we've seen, maybe some that we've always wanted to watch and never watched, and talk about those. So maybe that's something we'll continue into 2026.
I think it's been fun. It's been fun seeing some movies that we haven't seen before, or movies we haven't seen in a long time. and just kind of revisiting some of that stuff. And they don't even have to be really old ones if we go forward with this. It's like, no, I haven't seen this one, or
Yeah.
for some reason this one. I mean, with being family men ourselves, movies just pass by so quickly sometimes, and we never get a chance to see them.
Anymore. Yeah. You know what? You're right. There are so many movies where it's just like from even the last 10 years, and people are like, oh, you haven't seen that? How could you not have seen that? I'm like, I don't know, man. I just don't have time to sit and watch movies, but this will force me to sit and watch movies.
Diapers and soccer games. No.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, so that's it. We will not be back next week. We're going to take a nice we're going to take the holidays off, be good family men, right? And do our thing
Not
for the
bounce Christmas morning.
Yeah. Gonna do our Christmas and New Year thing, and then Chris and I will get together and start doing some new things in 2026. So be on the lookout for that.
There we go. Have you done anything this week?
Oh my gosh, yes. My daughter had yet another sleepover. She has a sleepover maybe like once a weekend, once every other weekend, and it's a new kid every other time. She's got this friend group where she's like, which I'm thankful for, but it's like I can't even remember their names half the time because
Is she
it's
the
like
linchpin of this group?
she must be, and we must be the house to spend the nights at because it's like every weekend it's some new kid. But this weekend,
dude, that says a lot though, because nowadays parents are so afraid to have kids stay over anyone's house.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that goes a long way to what they think about your daughter and you guys, essentially.
Yeah, which I am glad about that because it's like, she doesn't have any siblings, so it's like we're a single kid household. So the more that she has interactions like that with friends coming over, and honestly, I hope that's the way it is going forward too. Like when they get a little older and start becoming teenagers, like I want our house to be the welcoming house where a teenager can, just come and hang out and watch movies with her and stuff. Because I think that's just adds so much enrichment to, her life. I mean, that's what you and I were together all the damn
Dude,
time.
we were together more than we were not.
Yeah, yeah. So if she could have that, and now I'm 43 and you're my only friend still. maybe she can have all these friends now and actually hang on to them and have a friend group when she's in her 40s. I don't know.
I'll say it's successful if you hang on the one for 20 some years.
Yeah, you know what? That is, that's what I hang my hat on. Yeah, we're doing all right. But what else? We went driving around to see some Christmas lights with her and her friend. That was fun. I don't think she watches Dad in the Rock consistently, but we got her an electric bike for Christmas.
Awesome.
And I tried to sneak into the garage and put it together because I wanted it to be built for Christmas morning.
Oh, absolutely.
But so, of course, it's came in a big box from Amazon. It's Chinese, right? And it's like I'm trying to the instructions are all just snapshots and pictures with bad translation. I get to step number 3, and I'm trying to bolt the back wheel on, and I'm looking, and it says now put the nut on the bolt, and there's no nut. I'm like, what nut? Then I'm looking through the manual at the parts list. They don't even list hardware or nuts on here at all. It's just not here. So I spent the rest of the day guessing. I'm like, okay, it's about a width of half my thumb. I go to Home Depot. Luckily, Home Depot is right across the street. So I'm going through all the nuts and bolts in the hardware department of Home Depot. I bring the largest one back. It's too small. The largest nut that Home Depot has in its hardware section is too damn small to fit on this bike. So then I'm like, okay, what do I need? Who has more of a variety of nuts and bolts? Turns out there's a brand new Menards that's about a half hour away from me. So, and I'm like a dog with a bone. Once I'm determined to do something, I'm like, this is happening. So of course I drove to Menards and bought one of each of size up, different coarse thread, fine thread above what I know it wasn't, right? So I bring it back, and finally it was a 9/16 coarse nut that fit perfectly on this bike. But by that time, it was too late in the day. I had finished part number 3, and it's in pieces, right? And it's in our garage, and she's in and out of their garage. So I had to pack everything up, hide it in my car. It's in my car right now. And it's just I'm running out of time between now and Christmas to put this thing together, but I'll do it.
Absolutely hate following any type of directions. If I have any ability to pay somebody to assemble it for me,
Yeah.
I go that route 100 out of 100. The desk I'm sitting behind right now, I put it together and take it apart like 4 times, trying to follow the same type of instructions you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I got so angry at the situation, and then I got in trouble. I got in trouble because my wife was like, I was going to help you with that a little bit later. But she
Yeah.
said, your impatience decided to sit down and try to do this by yourself.
Yeah.
And literally, I sat down, sat back, sat on the couch, and she put it together in like 45 minutes. I was so, I get so out of my head and so angry when I'm trying to put things together with following these instructions. That's why I do Lego.
That's wild to me. I was just going to say that. Like, you do Lego, though. You have to sit and put things together
why
by
I
instructions.
put these things together.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the whole purpose behind it. It is, I have to sit there and follow the instructions step by step. But you want to know the difference between a Lego instruction and something from China?
What's that?
It makes fucking sense. But
Yeah,
anyway,
I get that.
I went and sat in the theater for 8 hours on 2 different times, 4 hours each time. I went and seen the new Avatar Fire and Ash movie.
Right. Yeah.
I absolutely loved it.
Okay. Better than the Way of Water?
It was okay. So I looked at him this way. Avatar 1, spectacle. New technologies and everything. It just looked fantastic. I enjoyed it. I know I enjoyed it a lot more than you did. We talked about this story-wise.
Yes.
You had your problems with it.
Yeah.
2 was fun because it was so long before we got back into it.
Right.
It was at such a gap.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I enjoyed 2 as much as I may have thought I did.
Okay.
3, the storyline was the best of all of them, in my opinion.
Okay.
I think the story in 3 paired together with the technology and the visuals and everything with it, for me, put the 3rd one above the rest.
Oh, see, if they keep getting better, then it does interest me, because the first one, honestly, besides the spectacle, didn't do anything for me. Besides the fact that the Navari looked, is that what they're called?
No, they
what's the alien race?
I'm
You're the
blanking
Avatar
on-
guy.
Yeah, no, I'm blanking on the names of them.
But they looked very cool, especially back
Yeah.
in 2009. I'm sure these days it's not as impressive, but back in 2009 they looked great. But I wasn't a fan of the story. But if you're saying like, okay, the effects are great and the story's getting better, then I may have to check out the sequels then.
If you haven't seen 2, you have to see 2 to see 3.
Yeah.
It's almost, they could have went and said part 1, part 2. Because they also, I think James Cameron filmed them consecutively too.
Yeah.
So they could have gotten away with that. I think people would have been upset if part 1 to be continued type situation. That no one's ever really happy about those type of endings to a movie. When I watched it the second time, so I watched it the first time in standard, just normal theater. Went with my mother-in-law and Zach, and you can tell within the first 5 minutes, 10 minutes, it was shot to be seen in IMAX. It was shot to be seen in 3D. 3D, I think you can give or take. That's preference. IMAX is a must. If you're going to see it, it was shot for that size. This is the first movie I've seen in IMAX in a very long time because I'm just not in all over it anymore. But when I sat back, the main story, like Jack. Jack Sully, the main character from
Jake Sully.
Jake Sully, and then the Marine.
Yeah.
And then there was the main
Sigourney
character.
Weaver.
Yeah. She
don't spoil anything. Don't spoil anything. Not Sigourney Weaver. Was Zoe Saldana.
Yeah, Zoe Saldana. Yeah. She's in. But as Natiri.
Yeah.
You're watching it and those main characters are there, but you have to look beyond the bells and whistles of the main characters.
Okay.
The main story of this movie is 2 other characters that are very prevalent.
Yeah.
It's very obvious what they're doing if you're looking for it.
Right.
And when I seen it the second time, I sat back and watched it differently than I did the first time. And I was able to see, the story, like basically say, I see you. I seen what they were doing.
See, that's interesting because this could be, especially because James Cameron is insistent and he wants to make more and more of these, and I think he has an idea for even beyond, these two. I think he's got more on the way, right?
I think there's a total of 6 he wants to do.
Okay, that
4
gives
is already in
me
the works.
that gives me if they especially if they start making it like a generational story, then that's like Planet of the Apes kind of thing, like a modern day Planet of the Apes, because that's how they used to be back in the 60s, where it's like battle for the Planet of the Apes, escape the Planet of the Apes. Like each one was set a few years and there was like progression from one to the other, and some characters would be introduced and like son of characters would be introduced, and they kind of did it that way with the new ones with Andy Serkis doing the mocap and stuff too. But I can see that Avatar, especially since he's got multiple stories, and if it's one vision and the vision is from James Cameron, then maybe I'll end up turning around on the franchise. But I guess I'll have to check out the 2 and 3.
I liked how much bigger the world is now, because you had the original group, the original tribe,
right,
in the forest. Then the second one, you had the water.
Mm-hmm.
And the third one, this isn't really giving anything away. You have wind traders. So you have more people that kind of travel the world trading amongst all the clans. And then you have the ash people, who are like the main, like if you see the character, she's got the red and everything, it's kind of hard to miss. That's a whole other one. So you're looking at 4 different clans in this amongst the other ones that they call for the big battles. So this world is getting bigger and bigger and bigger right in front of you, which it should. It shouldn't feel small.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoyed that. I was like, it was funny because I went and seen him with Brandon on Sunday, and he called me pretty much within 30 minutes of me getting out of watching the first time. He said, "It'll be good for tomorrow." I said, "Yeah, I just got home. I enjoyed it." He said, "Go, okay." I was hoping you weren't going to say it was complete dog crap and you didn't want to see it tomorrow with me.
He was like, "I'm looking forward to it. You better not crap out on me."
Yeah, we seen it at 10:30 in the morning though, and I was like, it's kind of necessary. It's seeing that's a 4-hour experience.
Oh gosh,
it's 3 hours and 19 minutes long plus 30 minutes of previews.
Dude, oh my god.
Yeah,
that's rough.
It's the first time I seen it, I had to go to the bathroom so bad. I hurt.
I bet.
Like I literally hurt, but I was not getting up. Now the second time I got up because I knew when to get up.
I peed myself today. Oh man.
Oh, but yeah, that was pretty much my weekend. There's a bunch of just sitting in the theater watching the movie, which it's been a long time since I spent a lot of time in the theater.
Well, that's good to know. Maybe I don't know what's the big release for Christmas Day. Are they bringing what other movies coming out? Nothing.
There isn't. Avatar is going to run it along with, I think Zootopia 2 is still out there.
Okay.
Which is still making bank. That's over $1 billion franchise right now.
Well, 2025, I think pretty solid year for movies, but I'm looking forward. Maybe one of the first shows that we do in January is to look for because we did this in 2025. We looked at the year ahead, movies coming out in 2025. We did that in January.
Based on some of the trailers that I just seen.
Yeah.
There's some bangers coming.
Yeah, 26. So maybe that'll be a future episode here too. Well, I think that's going to do it for this week of Dad in a Rock.
For this year of Dad in a Rock.
You're right. Goodbye, 2025. Good riddance. No. No, I'm just looking forward to a new year. So we'll catch you. But keep an eye on the channel. If you haven't subscribed yet for whatever reason, what the heck are you doing? Go ahead and do that. But until we see you sometime in January, what do you say?
I see you.
See ya.